last November.
Yep.
Once in person. That was like the only conversation we've really had. Like some chatting.
Yeah. We hung out. We met mainly in the lobby. We hung out and had some coffee.
Yeah.
And then there was the party that night, the ARC experience party, the dance party. And then, yeah. Because you were at the ARC experience.
How do you remember so much? How do you?
So I journal. And the practice of journaling really helps me because I can connect with those moments. And I use the biggest trick I have for journaling. Like, yeah, you can have a written journal, and I do that sometimes, but I generally write things out for planning and things like that. Like today I did a lot of that because we're, and we'll probably get to this a little bit about like how I'm kind of rethinking my business a little bit. But I use day one on the iPhone and on the iPad, and there's a Mac app too. But what I do is I take I'll take photos on my iPhone, and then I use the Instagram app layout, and I'll make a collage of the different photos I took for the day that really kind of speak to me for what the day represented. And then that's kind of the trigger for what I'm going to write about. So like yesterday.
And you write it on your phone?
Yeah, but I dictate it. So the one thing I use drafts on my iPhone as because the dictation on drafts is amazing. It's better than the actual Siri dictation. So I'll dictate the journal entry and then I tag it in drafts as journal. So that way I can look at all my journal entries in there if I want to. But in day one, then I copy it from drafts, and you can just do a copy to clipboard. I put it in day one. So yesterday I made orange lantern cookies, and they were they looked terrible. They tasted amazing, but I'm not a baker. My son, I finally got him to have a bath and wash his hair by bribing him, and it had been way too long since he had done that. And then I took a photo because it was Sunday, so it was my planning day. So I was sitting at a coffee shop, and I took a photo, and it's not a very flattering one, but it's kind of a good pensive one. And I posted it to my Instagram feed. And then my buddy, Chris Ducker, who he posted, and he said, hey man, I think he said, like, I love hearing when friends do this stuff. They keep doing what you're doing. And then the other picture in here is the new thumbnail art for my YouTube channel. And so I was able to kind of, yeah, that's all from one day. So yeah, so journaling, it allows me to, because I get to relive those moments again. So retention is that much better. I just, before we got on the call today, I had a meeting with the guy who's doing filming with me now. And I'm really getting into YouTube this year. Like that's the big thing, doing a lot more video because people want it. And I sat down with my daughter last night. We've had some chats. My daughter's in grade 9. And I said, she went to VidCon with me one year, so she got to meet see all the YouTubers in action. I said, what YouTuber do you know that does like a bunch of things? He says, well, David Dobrik does like YouTube and Instagram and podcast and blog. I'm like, and his book. I go, would you read his book? She goes, yeah, but I wouldn't do it like, it would be the last thing I would do. She goes, I will watch his videos and I will listen to his podcast. I'm like, I got to do more video because that's where it's headed. And I went and had my meeting with my video guy. And I said, there's a lot of reasons that I should not start video, but there are so many more that I should. And I really need to lean into this. And we were saying, well, how do we do it? And I said, this is scary. Like, it's scary for me to think. And I took a picture of there's an Instagram stories filter right now with this weird like television thing. And I took a selfie with it. I said, can you make this into like a thumbnail, a YouTube thumbnail that almost looks like the Poltergeist poster from like the 80s. Remember that? Where it's like just me and I said, and the title of the YouTube video will be This Is Scary. And it's going to be about me being like afraid to do this because if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. I'm going all in.
Yes, because why not? Because why wouldn't you?
Right. And I said and we sat there, and this was at the tail end of the meeting. And in about 15 minutes, we had hashed out the entire shoot. I came home. He went his way. I went on my iPad and I screen captured me doing the thumbnail for my YouTube art, which I just talked about, writing the script. Like I kind of, made it because I'm writing the script, did all the stuff that we can use for B-roll. Or at least some of it. And then tomorrow he comes here, he shoots. We're going to shoot from 11 to 1. We're going to shoot it probably will be a 3-minute video because I know the rules of YouTube, and especially when you're starting out, don't go too crazy, build your audience first. But I have 1,600 people waiting in YouTube for me to make something that hasn't been made in a long time.
Why are you afraid? Like, why you were so confident. I've seen you speak.
The creative part is so important to me because productivity and time management doesn't seem like it's something that you could get really creative about. It just seems like it's a very dry topic. I don't think I make it dry. Like you said, you've seen me speak. I try to be entertaining. I try to be informative. I try to make it because
it still sticks with me. I like doing what we're doing at Pepper.
Yeah. Well, but you have to
be creative though.
Yeah, exactly. It's, people go, oh, I don't like frameworks. I don't feel spontaneous. I'm like, frameworks foster freedom. They like give you the ability to work around.
It releases the stress.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So by the time we finished that meeting, I came back here and I'm like, we have a video ready for tomorrow. Like we literally know that tomorrow we're going to shoot. And instead I was only planning on shooting 2. Now guess what? Now we can shoot 3.
I was going to say, I think you even said last year you were thinking at like even the word like productivityist, if you were going to change that.
We are. And the reason is it's hard to say, hard to spell, but I'm going to be the thing is you don't get to decide what your brand is 100%. So for example, my brand is called Productivityist, but people call me the Productivityist, which I've never said. I've never said I'm the Productivityist all the time. Even my old podcast editor, when I was on his show, he goes, here he is, the Productivityist. I'm like, dude, you've been editing the show. You've been producing the show that this is, but you don't get to decide. And so when I made the decision to change to time crafting, because that's the name of the book and that's what I teach, and it's just got a little bit, to me, it feels a bit more.
You'll probably still be called the
exactly. In fact, I'm gonna lean into it. I'm like Mike Vardy, otherwise known as the Productivityist. Why not? It's already there. Yeah. All I'm doing is simplifying the element of where people will say, oh, well, it's timecrafting.com. Yes. And the great thing about having my website, we're going to be doing a website redesign again. Today I spoke with my web guy and I said, we actually got hacked 3 times over the last 3 weeks.
No.
Yeah. Like it's been, the weird thing is it was every time I posted a new podcast episode, like within 30 hours later, and he's like, do you have a virus? I'm like, nope. In fact, I have a completely new computer now. So with a fresh install. So we figured it was some plugins that were doing it because, WordPress, sometimes it can get that clunky. And he said, so it was really interesting because it was a real test it was almost like a test in patience for me. Cause I'm like, there's not much I can do. I couldn't even log in. I'm like, and Noah was great because he got on it. There's been, we didn't get the old dreaded Google saying the site is not secure nonsense, but he messaged me this morning and said, I've been thinking about what's happened. He goes, and maybe this is a sign that we should really step this up. And I said, I've been thinking about it too for a number of reasons, not just that one. That one was almost like the straw that broke the camel's back, but almost I want the website design, and you can appreciate this for sure, to exemplify the brand. Simple, flexible, durable, no sidebar nonsense. No, at the top, it's going to say like, the blog, the podcast, the videos, and then the new initiative I'm working on, which is called the $5 guarantee. Those things. And I'll talk about that a little bit in a second if you want. But then at the bottom, and people are like, well, what if you want to speak? What about workshops? I'm like, that can go in the bottom menu. Like that, like people can get past it. But what I want people to, when they come to time crafting, I want them to go, oh, he's got his writing, he's got his podcast, and he's got his videos. He's got all the stories. And that way they can lean into time crafting. And then if they're like, you know what, I really like this guy, I want to see him speak. Sure, I'll link to my speaking page. Sure, I'll link to my workshops page. I want to start doing workshops in Vancouver regularly. I want to start doing stuff like that because, and I've got a strategy in place. Same thing with webinars. And we're building a membership community, which we're going to be calling the Time Crafting Trust, which is like this kind of community. And I want to kind of take that element of trust, which is, I believe time crafting is a system you can trust, but also the notion of like a trust, which is, And that has a negative connotation to some respect. Like a trust is businesses that are combined to eliminate competition. But for me, it's more, I want this community, this trust, to eliminate all of the different things that I've had that have been competing for your attention. And you should just go here. If you go to the Time Crafting Trust, you'll get everything that you need for whatever the fee is for the membership site per month. And then what I can do is do things like, oh, I'm hosting a webinar. Oh, if you're a member of the Time Crafting Trust, it's free. But if you're not, it's going to cost you X. Right. By the way, you could have just been a member and not paid the X, and the X is more than that. So why don't you just become a member? And so I'm really kind of honing it in. And that's been percolating since September when I started my year. So it's been percolating for the last like 7 weeks. And I'm like, it's got to happen. It's got to happen soon because momentum is there and I'm feeling it. I'm leaning into it hard. So and when with the book coming out, I want it all in place so that when the launch campaign starts, probably in February, really is when we start to do promotion.
Summer 2020.
In the summer. So I'll be doing things like figuring out like what podcasts to be on and, probably hiring a publicist and all that stuff. I want to be able to have, I want to have all that there so that when people go, oh, there's the book Time Crafting. Oh, there's a site called Time. Like I want that brand recognition hard. Like we bought fonts very specific that we want to use. We've got the new logo already designed. In fact, my graphic designer did a video showing the evolution of the Productivityist logo to the Time Crafting logo, all that stuff. And it just feels like I'm at this point where it's just a flip of the switch and then the dominoes start to fall. When I was exploring the video stuff, I said to people, what kind of videos do you want to see? I said, do you want to see like how-to videos or do you want to see like, I want to do short films, like these little short films that speak. And it was a dead like 50-50 split. Now, between you and me and everyone watching right now, I was going to do both of them anyway. Like it wasn't like I was going to, but I wanted them to know that that's what I was going to do. So that way it kind of builds that, oh, I wonder what Mike's like how-to videos are, I'm not going to do like how to use Todoist or Asana or anything like that. The problem with those kind of videos is that they get dated pretty quickly. But how to be productive when you're tired, how to, map out your year in an hour, like those kind of things I can do. But I want to do things like, don't just ship, deliver, or like, this is scary. Like the videos where it's like, hey, Mike, there's a real person behind here and there's a story being told. And that's the kind of stuff that I want to make. And I frankly don't give a shit if, the 5 people watch it or 5,000 or 500, it doesn't matter because when I was doing comedy, I remember performing sketch and we had more people on stage that were in the audience sometimes. But it didn't stop me from doing it. And it didn't stop me from doing the next show or the show after that. And so the more I remember that stuff, the better I am at saying, yeah, okay, it's scary, but you're going to do it anyway. Like, what's the point? Like this, like people want to see you do video. They've told you that. So who are you? And this may sound, who are you to not give them that? Like, how dare you? Like, it's almost like that self-talk, right? And
sometimes it's less about, someone told me, I forget who it was, an amazing speaker, and they said it helps them calm their nerves when they realize it's actually not about them anymore. It's about what they're providing, like the service, the education, or the material, or the lecture, or the knowledge. Like it's about that, and people want that. What do you think of Patreon? Interesting.
I talked about Chris Ducker earlier. He's said, never build your house on rented land.
Oh, I see.
So it's the same feelings I have about Facebook too. I think that you have to have your own platform. So for example, I used Patreon for a long time with my podcast. Used to be able to contribute and I think I was bringing in about $1,000 a month. So I had about 300 people at one point that were supporting me there. But there are 2 things that bothered me. Number one, the interface was clunky. Like it just was hard it's gotten much better, to be fair, but it was hard for me to go, okay, well, I have to put stuff in Patreon right now. Oh, now I have to go back to WordPress. Oh, now, like there was just a lot of moving parts. And I also did not like how they decided, and again, I'm not supporting these people in any way, shape, or form, but I don't think a platform should have the ability to go, well, I don't like what this person's doing, so we're going to ban them. I think that kind of flies in the face of free market. I'm not saying that, again, you should support somebody that's spewing kind of stuff you don't agree with. But to have them, it's just not good because they could just decide to do that to you at some point in time too. They say, hey, you know what, you swore too many times on a thing, so we're gonna, and that's where it gets dangerous. So
and then all that effort and all that investment,
right?
Place where you don't
so I mean, I use Podia right now for my products, but again, I'm probably going to switch over to now. Here's the tricky thing too, though, and this is where I think Patreon can be helpful. Is it's a community, right? So there is the added boost that Patreon can give you because they're well known. It's the same reason why, like, I use Podia right now, and I like Spencer and the team at Podia and Matt. But Thinkific's in Vancouver, and I'm like, should I move my stuff to Thinkific? Because I like Rob and I like Greg and I like the team at Thinkific. They have a really robust platform. Their cost is a little bit more than what I like to pay right now, but I could go to Vancouver and be in their presence and get all that stuff. And they've got some really good clout. They've got some good profile where they can share. So not only am I going to be marketing my own stuff, but Thinkific could come along and say, hey, we'd like to promote your course. It's the same thing that Creative Live did for me and the same thing that Skillshare's done. So I think you have to be really selective. The problem with Patreon is that everything's going in there. And I think that, like, Matt Diavelli uses it. And I think that for him, I mean, he's making videos for YouTube. He has a podcast, which I can't remember the last time he did an episode. Have you ever watched Matt Diavella's stuff? It's really, it's so good. So good. Such good filming. Did you see the documentary, The Minimalists, the documentary Minimalism?
No.
It's on Netflix.
I'd be into it.
It's on Netflix. You can watch. It's called Minimalism. He directed it, and the guys from The Minimalist, Josh and Ryan, they kind of starred in it. But Matt uses Patreon for, like, behind the scenes stuff and that. And I think that there's some benefit to that, but you have to decide whether or not you want to put your energy into that. For me, I'm doing behind the scenes stuff on Instagram stories, and IGTV, I think, is a good platform for that. I don't, because I'm already using it anyway. So I'm like, I just want to get better at using Instagram TV and Instagram stories and Instagram and Pinterest. Again, I mean, a lot of behind the scenes stuff happens on Pinterest. Pinterest is an area that I'm spending more time in now, actually.
I think people would be surprised how useful and the reach of Pinterest.
It's huge.
It's a pretty version of Google.
It is. And so there's a guy named Jeff Shea who I'm going to be working with, and he runs a site called Manly Pinterest Tips.
Amazing.
And he definitely looks man. He's got the big beard and all that stuff. And he would be the last person you would probably expect based on the demographic that Pinterest kind of espouses. But for me, like, calendars, planners, pens, like, the productivity space, seeing lists. If you go on and you look up to-do lists or planners on Pinterest, you'll be buried in it. Like, it's just like, it's basically like and a lot of Etsy users use Pinterest as a way to, like, kind of bring people to Etsy to buy their planners and stuff. So I've been spending some time there. And another one for me specifically is LinkedIn, because LinkedIn. But I'll tell you why. Let me explain why. Because LinkedIn is where you can get high paying gigs for speaking and stuff like that.
I've heard, I know,
and I've had that. That's how Post-it notes found me. The Post-it note commercials found me there.
Okay, well, that's amazing. I know LinkedIn is incredible, and I know why, but I don't know, just being on it and navigating it, I don't know what it is. I want to love it, and I want to get into the flow, but there's something about it that I just can't get into.
LinkedIn is diving into learning a bit more. Like, they're doing more like of a learning platform, and LinkedIn Live and video. So again, and I know Pinterest is leaning into video too. So I think what the markets of Instagram and Facebook are really saturated right now. I really only want to use Facebook for ads at best. I just don't love it. Even personally using it, I almost deleted my Facebook a couple of times. I even got as far as creating my secret account so I could be administrator on my business stuff and just deleting everything else. It just, I had organic reach of 1. Yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know what I have. All I know is that what I do, this is how I deal with Facebook. And I talked to my buddy Cal Newport, who wrote Digital Minimalism, about this. Is every day I say I have one task for Facebook. It's share one cool thing on Facebook. Doesn't even have to be my own stuff. So I use Flipboard to read the news. So I've curated it to get my specific type. So I get time management, productivity, sleep stuff. I get acupuncture news now for my wife because she runs her own clinic now here in Victoria. So that way, if she wants to share something, I had no idea what ear seeds were. Apparently she uses them all the time. I'm like, what's the hot new wellness trend? You might want to market that. But so I'm keeping tabs on that. But I will get so for example, today, and I also use an RSS feed called Reader on my iPad. So I don't read news on the computer. I read it on my iPad. And I get stuff from like Jason Kotke, who's been blogging for years. And today he shared a post about a YouTube video about the new way to sing the alphabet. So instead of ABs, so the LMNO isn't really fast. It's like L and like it's much. And I said, okay, this is going to blow. So I that's all I did is I put that into I from that Reader app, I can share using iOS extensions right to Facebook. So I clicked on it and I just typed mind, period, blown, period. And then I put parentheses, goes, it doesn't take much these days, period, close parentheses. Shared that. And I checked off, shared one cool thing on Facebook. When I was restructuring, and as I've been restructuring and changing the model, what happens when you do that and you stop doing things that bring in a certain amount of revenue is that you have to change and I know this from working at Costco. The biggest controllables that we had at Costco were food costs and payroll. I don't have food costs as a productivity expert, but I do have payroll. So I scaled back everything. My podcast, I have a Rodecaster Pro over here. I'm editing my own podcast again, which it's way easier than it's ever been before. But that I know as soon as I've got myself in a position where I can farm that back out, I will be doing so.
But sometimes you have to do that to get ahead because you're putting that risk out. You're doing something new, something bigger, where there's expense with that. So sometimes you have to tighten the ship up, batten the hatches. And
you have to create new SOPs. You have to create new ways of because if I was to hire somebody as I was doing this, I wouldn't be saying throwing good money after bad, but I wouldn't know exactly what I wanted them to do. So they'd be like, okay, what do you want me to do? I'm like, well, I don't know yet. Just wait over there. Like I can't. So what my goal is, we were talking about Time Hero earlier, is templates, all that stuff. I'm like, okay. And the great thing about a tool like Time Hero, which I also love, is that I can see where my time is being spent and it's not even like, I don't do things like track my sleep anymore or anything like that. I don't need that quantitative self stuff, but I do need to see am I spending enough time in my zone of genius? Am I putting my time and energy and attention into those things that only I can do? And I can tell you that I was spending a lot of time with my VA overseas doing a lot of okay, you didn't do that right, so now I got to go fix it. And that happened too many times. And I just said, and I own that because I probably didn't give her the right direction.
It's hard with training because it takes triple the amount of time.
Yeah, which I understand. And I had screencasts and all that stuff. It's not like it was my first rodeo. But the problem is that there is some nuances that get lost. There's some time zone differences that can get lost too. So it becomes challenging. And there was some lack of communication on both sides. And that's, I think, the biggest key is when you're getting help, you especially up front, communicate. And that's where a tool
even with Pepper, I'm your first month, a good chunk of it is just in communication and getting to know one another and your systems and processes and how we're going to work together. Because you get that base, that foundation, and then adding things onto that is going to be so much more simple.
Yep. And so I decided that I pulled back all those resources and I said, where do I need to put that money now? And and it came back to video. I'm like, I need someone that I can edit video. I've done it before, but I can't do it well. And I would much rather spend the time creating the video, shooting it here and doing all that stuff. And then saying, hey, this is what I want it to look like. Mm-hmm. And I have people like Thomas Franks, who runs College Info Geek, who has a whole workflow that he uses Notion and Frame.io and all that stuff for. I'm like, I'm just going to steal that workflow. because he's told us all about it. I'm going to steal that workflow, and there it is. That's how we do it. That's how we do it at Productivityist.
You have to invent it from scratch.
No, you don't have to. And so, I mean, I already have my workflow for my podcast. So I already know. And when I want to bring on an editor, I go, here's the workflow. This is what you do now, and this is what I do. So yeah, that's the help right now is, and it's actually going to be interesting because next week my daughter it's bring your daughter to work day, and she decided she wanted to be here. So she's going to get to see, like, because my kids at sometimes, like, they don't know what I do half the time. They're like, well, what does he do? Like, he's not like my son's home right now. He's like, what's dad doing? He's just talking about himself. Like, what the hell? But they don't know what they have a sense, but my daughter's going to get to see it. Cause on Tuesday it's like, okay, or actually it's Wednesday. So I'll be editing a podcast. I'm going to have her like do some behind the scenes filming of it. Like, she's like, wow, you're like, yeah, from 9 to 5. It's like, there's a cult of personality thing that kind of goes on a little bit. And I go, and that's just the way it is. But once I'm able to, and I'm going to be more selective and more deliberate about the help, which is what we talked about before we started recording. I'm like, well, I know who I'm going to go to when I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, I need to have some help. I want to have, and one of the things I think that's important too, for me at least, is FaceTime, is the ability to have that knowledge that, like, so when I met my video editor guy today, like, we went to the coffee shop and we had face-to-face time, and that there's just something about the energy there. And I can do that like this, like we're doing right now, because I know that you're not terribly far away, although Canada is a big country. So let's be clear.
At least we're on the same side.
We're on the same side.
Yeah.
But it's not like when I have people say to me, oh, we're going to be in Calgary. Can you join us? I'm like, no. That's like a 90-minute flight from here. And they're like, well, that's like an 11-hour drive. What? Yeah, Canada's big. Yeah. Like, for me to fly from here to Toronto is 4.5 hours. And they're like, oh, wow. I'm like, I can get to Europe in that one. I'm like, I know. Canada is big. Like, you keep forgetting. When I used to work for the Next Web, they made me Canada's editor. I said, you're crazy. And they're like, oh, you can cover it all. I'm like, it's literally the second largest country on the planet. Like, what are you talking about?
just me. Just handling Canada.
And I go, there's also different nuance. Like, Calgary is very different from Ottawa, which is very different from Montreal, which is very different from Vancouver. I said, they're all different. So yeah, when I'm ready to bring somebody on board, I'm going to do it. I want to do it deliberately and in the right way. And I want to have it so that when they come on board, I'm like, okay, here's the template. And then further to that, I want them to be able to go, okay, you're the bottleneck, Mike, get the heck out of the way. Number one. And number two, here, we're going to make it better, because this is how I can do it. And it's going to be probably, because you have blind spots, right? And I don't care how productive or how great you are at time, you were all human, and you're going to have blind spots. And that the next person I bring on board is going to help me with those blind spots like nobody else has been able to before. I
think that would be a blast.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. I can't wait. That's and with this rejuvenation I'm doing with the brand and stuff like that. I'm one of the things I've done is, other than the studio part, is I decided that as much as I like the Post-it note stuff, and I still have Post-it notes, I'm going chalkboard. I have a chalkboard wall. No, I'm not kidding. I have a chalkboard wall. I have chalk up there. Like, I have said, it's time crafting. Chalk is a form of, I went to Michael's and I bought these coasters that are chalkboard coasters. And I've got these pots that are chalkboard pots. And I already know, I can tell you right now, we're doing a video about like how to be productive when you're sick and tired. I've got these little chalkboard, little squares, and I'm going to write down little tasks that are like, I'm going to write down the tasks that are either high energy or low energy. And I'm going to have 2 buckets. One says high energy, and I'm going to show it. Like, and then I go, now you're tired, and I'm going to take that high energy bucket, just shove it off the table, go, this is the bucket you focus on. Show it. And I'm like, I'm so excited to show that. Like, to be able to creatively show, and then people go, oh, wow. So Mike's not only the guy that has the audiograms where he throws his pie, but he's also the chalkboard guy. Like, he puts stuff on chalkboard.
We did chalkboards in the office.
Yeah.
Because I'm at home right now, cozy like. But in the office, we did chalkboard paint.
Yep. Which I'm thinking that I might go that way.
Oh, but be so careful. I think you have to prep it in a certain way.
Oh, no. I learned how you had to prime it. Yeah. You didn't prime it, did you?
No, it's there for
And from now on, it's all burned in. Like this is chalkboard right here. This metal, this is a desk. So this desk folds down. And so I'm going to write some stuff on here, and that'll have some stuff. But yeah, you have to do you have to go across, you have to go down, and you have to.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
No, and so now what does it say permanently on your chalkboard?
Oh, it's like a big list of goals and action items from February.
So you asked how I remember things. Now you're going to know how to remember things from February before. It's like you have this perpetual journal. No, I didn't know. The only reason I knew that is that I picked up a book at Michael's called How to Do Chalkboard Lettering. And the first thing that they said in the book is prime your chalkboard. I'm like, what the heck are you talking about?
I thought you just like painted on the wall. I'm like, that's chalkboard paint.
No, and it gives it that weathered look. But I went to, the way I did it was I did it on the cheap. I went to Dollarama. And they have these chalkboard wallpaper strips that are like the vinyl. One wall done like that. I picked up a couple of magnetized ones that were, I think, $2 each. They're above me, right above here.
Even when I met you, you have like this amazing, positive, high energy. And I feel like I'm a high energy person too. Sometimes when I'm doing a consult with somebody, I can see them being like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, back up. Whoa.
I'm like, la, 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 la. There's all these cool things that you could be doing. And like, I see this. But how do you find yourself like you go and everything's energizing and exciting? Even for me, like when I get like any kind of setbacks and things, I almost feel re-energized when I get a setback. But when do you feel like you're just like you need to like, take a break, you're down and out, like it just crashed, burnt out? When does that happen, and what do you do when that happens?
So I think the fact that I'm not a morning person is a bit of a blessing because I kind of like I have a slow burn into the day. So like I'm a little bit sick right now. I don't get sick very often. I don't get a cold, but when I do, I do.
It's like the forced taking a break.
Yes, it's literally that. Yeah. It's like it's my body going, all right. Like last night, I was up way later than I should have been because my brain was going, even after journaling, because I journal also to kind of like shut it down. But last night that didn't work. And so, which is probably part of the reason that we got up late this morning. But I knew it. I'm lying there in bed. I'm like, I need to go to sleep because I'm not at 100%, and staying up later is not going to help me. But I don't feel any worse today than I did yesterday. I actually feel a bit better. And so I'm really good at kind of taking care of myself. Like I pace myself. I think theming the days has really helped with that because I can spread things out in a dynamic fashion to go, okay, you know what? I'm not going to get all my optimization done this Monday. I guess it'll be next Monday. Tuesday's my looking day. I know that tomorrow I'm going to film those 3 things. And that's probably the bulk of what I'm going to do. Especially because the World Series game is on and Sloan is coming. Like I have a really good relationship with time in that respect. So that does help. But I can tell you that the thing that does get me down is whenever we have an admin meeting and my wife goes, here's where we are like with the finances. And I'm like, ugh. So I can go one of 2 ways. I can either withdraw, right? Which has happened. Or I can innovate. And the $5 guarantee has come from that. Yeah. So what the $5 guarantee is I was like, I need to figure out a way to help people when they don't value their time as much as they should, but they'd more than willingly pay for a cup of coffee at Starbucks, or they got coupons for McDonald's, so they're going to go get a Big Mac meal, or they're going to go out for a beer after work. And it came on, I start my year September 1st because I try to mirror the kids' school year, right? And so summer, I kind of take it easy, and those are the months where I do like self-care and that kind of thing. And I didn't realize this, but so we just got Amazon Prime not too long ago because we were kind of like there was nothing left on Netflix to watch, and so let's watch Amazon Prime. And so the Legend of Bagger Vance, the movie. Have you ever seen that movie with Will Smith and Matt Damon, the golf movie?
No, but I know it.
Okay, so Stephen Pressfield wrote the novel The Legend of Bagger Vance, and I'm a big fan of Stephen Pressfield. He's wrote The War of Art, Do the Work, Turning Pro. He's very much into, and so on the first, I'm like, I want to watch the movie I watched on the 31st of August, which was now Year's Eve for me, was About Time, which is the one with Rachel McAdams and the guy who can travel.
Oh, yeah, I read the book.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yes.
It's so, yeah, every year I'm like, it's why I end every email with "see you later," because that's the last line that he says in the film.
Yes.
So I'm watching The Legend of Bagger Vance because I'm like, oh, it's New Year. I wrote the book, The Front Nine, How to Start the Year You Want Anytime You Want. I'm not a golfer, but I really like Stephen Pressfield's stuff. So I start watching it, not knowing that September 1st is Stephen Pressfield's birthday. I only found that out recently. And during this, so if you've not seen the movie or read the book, Bagger Vance is kind of this ghost like spirit person that is going to help Matt Damon's character, Juna, compete in this golf tournament with two pros, Bobby Jones and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they were very, very high level pros back in the 30s. And in the movie, Matt Damon is really struggling. He can't find his swing. That's what they call his swing. And Will Smith shows up and he's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "I'm Bagger Vance." And ultimately he says, "I can help you. I'll help you with this golf match. 4 rounds of golf, $5 guaranteed." I'm like, all right. He's going to help him find his swing, find his way, $5. And I'm like, let me just ponder this. So I grabbed a notebook and I started writing it down. And I thought, I wrote The Front Nine 6 years ago, or more than that now. It came out 6 years ago. And it was about like how you can start the year you want anytime you want. And it was divided into like the drive, the fairway, the green, and there was a lot of golf metaphor around it. And I thought, what if I helped someone for 4 weeks find their way, figure it out, like give them all of the things that they would need to be able to then play on their own after that. Because at the end of the movie, once Matt Damon, spoiler alert, finds his swing, before the game's even over, Will Smith goes, "You don't need me anymore." And then he goes, "Okay, thanks." He goes, "By the way, there's this little matter of the $5. Oh yeah. And then he gives him $5. Make no mistake, the $5 is paid up front. When it comes to me, I'm not going to be like, "Hey, but
later on."
Yeah. But the whole point is that that's what the $5 guarantee is by the time you're done those 4 weeks, you're going to have all the tools you need to be able to craft your time. And then at that point, you can either stay and get emails from me regularly for absolutely free, or you can join Time Crafting Trust, which will be the membership community, which will be a reasonable price. All my pricing is going to kind of revolve around that 9 hole, 18 hole, 72 hole kind of thing. I'm going to try to tie in that back in because especially with the other book coming out, I want to kind of tie my body of work together. And then the other option is, oh, you want to work with me individually? Well, we could do what's called tailored time crafting, which is like one-to-one coaching or something like that.
That's going to be so popular.
I think.
And then I see you. Do you have other coaches beneath like that? You
not yet. Licensing is gonna. I actually pumped the brakes on that hard because the book will lend people to it, and then I can get into more of a licensing program. But the reason people are going, well, why wouldn't you just give that away for free? I'm like, free opt-ins are fine, but you got to have some skin in the game. I think.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So. Yes, you can. So
why would you commit?
Right. And so, but most people don't value they don't think about time in terms of that. They're like, oh, well, I can just get all this time management advice for, yeah, but you're going to get like 30 days of time craft. That's literally what it is. The $5 guarantee is it's 30 days of time crafting. So you get an email every day. There's a course that goes along with it. You're going to get like a lot for $5. And then at the end, you can go, okay, you know what? Thanks. And then you can just get the free stuff, but you can't buy anything from me at that point until you've gone through this. So there is no, Sean D'Souza does this with a site called Psychotactics. You can't actually buy anything from him until you've learned enough about him. And then, so there's that trust there. And so at the end of this, once you get into Time Crafting Trust, then there's my programs, the Now Your Action Plan, the Productivityist Playbook, all that stuff's going to be in there, which is it's risky because people are like, well, what about what if you sold that stuff outside? You could make bits and pieces here and there, but that's small ball. Like that's me hitting singles here, there, and everywhere. Sure. If I looked at the numbers I need to bring in monetarily, this makes a lot of sense to me.
And it also aligns more with your residents.
Right. It definitely does. And then at the end, you're going to have people like, you know, and I've had people say, oh, you're not going to charge enough for the membership. Oh, you're that's fine for them. I finally come to that understanding that I'm never going to be able to please all the people say, oh, you should charge more. You should charge this, charge that. You know what? The book's going to come out. It'll be $24 or whatever it is. Buy the book. Oh, you want to take 30 days? Great. That's another $5. If I know what I need to bring in every month. Where, you know, the podcast brings in good money. I'm hoping that the YouTube videos will, you know, there might be some ad revenue there at some point, but I'm not counting on it. I'm not doing it for that. You know, coaching still brings in, you know, decent money. There's speaking engagements, all that stuff. But this is the thing. The people that I need, that I want to help, are the people that are like, I really would love to be able to have somebody to help me with productivity, but I can't afford it. Or I'm not prioritizing enough, or I don't see the value in it enough. So I'm not going to, I can't, $5, I can pay $5. Mm-hmm. That's and the thing is that the program is worth, to me, the stuff you get out of it is worth way more than $5, way more. But I want people to see that, wow, you know what? Yeah, I can, even if they walk out of it and go, you know what? I now know I should journal, and that's really the only thing I can do. It was worth $5. Or, hey, you know what? I'm going to give my 1 day a week a theme. That's worth $5. Like, I want them to walk away, because I've had people walk away going, oh my God.
Or something that they can.
But because time crafting isn't about, and that's the biggest problem with a lot of productivity systems, is that you have to do it all or you're not doing it right. Mm-hmm. And with time crafting, you can start small and add and build. That's what craft is all about. You know, anyone who wants to craft something, it's not about doing it all right away. No craftsperson ever says, oh, I'm done. Yeah, I did it. I've mastered my craft. No, I mean, there's always search for, and that's why when the book comes out, it's divided into sections of mindset, method, and mastery, because you have to have the right mindset first, then the method comes next, then the mastery. And I talked about this with the front nine. Like, you could have the best golf clubs in the world, but if you don't know how to golf, you are not going to golf nearly as well as the seasoned golfer who is using the clubs that they bought secondhand at a used golf club store. Same thing with photo. Same thing.
I had this same conversation. I was talking to a photographer, and she said, I don't know whether to invest in education or my gear. And I said that I know photographers that are using gear that costs half the amount as mine. And mine's not like the elite, you know, whatever. It's like average. It's nice, like professional, but average.
Sure.
And I know photographers that are using gear that's older than mine, and they're charging twice as much. And they are so crazy successful. And they make the most amazing, beautiful photos. That I feel like if you're in the first, especially 3 to 5 years of your business, education and relationships should be where your time should be spent.
Absolutely. And you know, I mean, one of the things that I realized with my work is that if I'm going to do, you know, video and audio, the gear is not as crazy expensive, or you don't need, like right now we have a diffuser for this light over here and it's a shower curtain. Like, it doesn't have to be this crazy expensive thing. The camera, I mean, I could go up and buy, like, I could get the new iPhone and that would probably be enough for filming, but I have this nice Panasonic G85 that I'm going to use and consistently use and get good at that. You know, but you're right. Like, I think the thing is most people, when they get like, if I have the best thing, and this happens with to-do list apps all the time too. Oh, if I have OmniFocus, then I'm going to be more productive. No, you won't. Garbage in, garbage out. Like, it doesn't matter. You need the approach first, then the application. And I've said, like, focus on the app within.
You schedule time to just do like nothing. Like, schedule time to like literally have nothing scheduled, and like, I'm going to be totally spontaneous.
Yeah, well,
happens.
The theme days allow me to do that though, right? Because I don't, like, so for example, today is optimization day. And when we're done here, I don't have anything scheduled. So I can do whatever I want. But if I feel like I'm losing direction or I'm not being productive, I can go look at my to-do list and go, what are the things that I should optimize? And I could see that. That's what helps, because having those anchors, that's what's important, right? Like, to know that if I get pulled astray, I have something to pull me back. Like tomorrow, again, that concert is scheduled. But what goes on before it certainly isn't. What goes on, like today when when we're done here, I'm going to go see my son. I know right now what he's doing because between 4 and 5, he's allowed to play Xbox. So he will be done till 5. He'll be playing Xbox till 5 o'clock. After that, we got nothing scheduled. He may say, hey, Dad, you want to play Xbox with me? I can say yes or no. I have the freedom. That's what the theme is. So when people get all bent out of shape, when they say, oh, I can't theme my time, there's no way. It doesn't mean that that's the only thing you do. All it means is that if you need focus, if you feel like you're unfocused and don't know what to do, your day is now defined. Monday, what does Monday mean? Monday, and that way you're not asking the question, well, what do I do now? Wait a minute, what day is it? Oh, it's Monday. Okay, that's a definitive answer. To say, what do I do now?
Control of your day instead of just reacting to it.
Right, because to say like, you get off this call, let's say, and you're like, okay, now what do I do? There's so many things you could do. We just discuss. But if you say, well, hold on, that's not the right question. The right question is, what day is it? Oh, it's Monday. Okay, what does Monday mean to me? What's my overarching focus? Oh, it's admin. Okay, great. What admin tasks can I do? Oh, look, there's 4 now. Instead of 362 things, there's now 43. Well, I'm not at the office. I'm at home. Okay, well, I can water the plants because I've listed that as, again,
that's my Sunday thing.
Right. But the point is that that's what you could do, right? Or you could choose to ignore it and go, I'm just going to do whatever the hell I want because now I know I can trust the fact that if I do get too far astray, I'm like, okay, hold on, pull it back. Let me look at because there's trust around. If I don't get all these optimization things done today, the default isn't tomorrow. It's the next instance of that day, right? So that could be, for me, it'd be next Monday, but maybe you optimize twice a week or something like that. For video, I know tomorrow is my looking day. It's where I look at things. And video is, you look at video. So that's part of, so I know that's why Tuesdays I schedule filming. In fact, that's what I told the video guy. I'm like, we should schedule filming on Tuesdays. Why? I go, because it's my looking day. He's like, what? My looking day. Now, if you want to book me on a podcast, it's like, well, when people are like, I give them my schedule, like, yeah, here's scheduling. They only see Wednesdays. They're like, why Wednesday? Wednesday's my listening day. You get me on a Tuesday, I'll look at you. I won't listen to you. Thursday's my learning day. So Thursday's the day where I do a lot of coaching and a lot of learning. Friday's my deep work day. So you know what I wouldn't be doing on Friday? Meeting with anybody. No one. Because I need to focus on deep work. Saturday is family or planning day, and Sunday is planning or family, depending on weather. That's Mrs. Vardy has been very clear about, like, hey, you know what? If it's sunny on a Sunday, that's family day, and Saturday can be planning. But that's how it works. And I know that. So I know that if the kids want, like, a lava lamp, my son's got a lava lamp that he bought, and it's faded. And I looked online, found a video how to do it. I'm not going to say, let's do that tonight. Now, I could go up there and do it right after this. But I already know that the default day to do it is Saturday. And now that we're in rainy season here in Victoria, plenty of opportunity to do all those like rainy day activities. Mm-hmm. And it's not like doing the lava lamp is an emergency. It's not like, oh, Dad, I don't have a light in my room. I better get this lava lamp done. But by putting that there, I know that it's something, and it's important to him, and it's important to me, and that's something that we can do together. Baking those cookies, that was something that we scheduled for. Like I said, okay, it's a family activity. What can we do? It's family. Sunday was planning day, but I'm like, well, I'm kind of done planning. What else can I do? Oh, there's some family stuff here. Let's do that. So it gives you something your brain needs something to go to, right? And if it has that, then you're directing it. You feel like you have agency and control. Whereas if you just kind of go off and do whatever, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm behind. I'm procrastinating. I'm this, I'm that.
You'll always be behind.
You will always. Yeah, you will. The thing is, what are you behind about? Like, are the things that you're behind? And this is where, and then when you figure out what you need to be doing and what you don't need to be doing, then you can say, I need help. Who do I bring on? Okay, this person I can, and if you're bringing on people, like I can tell you right now, optimization day would be the day I'm like, what do I not want to do? How do I optimize? Here it all is. That's when I do my SOP.
I love this so much. It makes me feel energized, just this conversation, because it makes you realize how much you are in control of your day.
Mm-hmm. It's the only thing we have. It's the only resource that we have absolute control over, no matter what.
Yeah,
Like, I mean,
you're responsible for your life, your time.
people go, oh, time is the most valuable resource we have, and money is, but even money, you have to spend. Like, you have to exchange, you don't have to exchange time. You don't have to. People go, oh, well, no, I have this day. I left
You can
Costco.
protect your time.
I had a great job at Costco. I had an amazing job. I could have kept moving up the ladder, but the more I moved up, the less control I had over my time. That's why I went from like the manager that ran this department to the guy at the front door greeting people, because I went from full-time manager to part-time door greeter person. And people are like, why are you so happy? I'm like, because I have so much more control over my time.